were coming off the heels of what Pittsburgh had done. I think it was the 12th consent decree that had been enacted in the history of consent decrees. But we wanted to make sure that the community, and more importantly, the community that had been impacted in the most vile way, be at the table, figuring out what the problems were, helping to design the implementation, and what public safety actually looked like for all of us. It was our thought that if black folk in the city of Cincinnati got better policing, guess what everybody else would get? Great service from the police department. When we decided that we were going to file, what do I hit when I want to go?
Space bar.
Space bar, thank you.
I believe, don't.
All of you all do know my name, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows? I'm Iris Roley.
Say it.
Speak up louder. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't.
Say your name first.
Iris Roley. Okay? All right. All right, so what Cincinnati Black United Front did, we actually organized because 14 of the 34 downtown restaurants decided that they were going to close during the most revenue-generated event that has happened in this city and continuously happened in the city, which is formerly known as the Jazz Festival, now known as the Cincinnati Music Festival. 14 downtown restaurants closed, right, Nick? I think City Beat did an awesome article on why these restaurants decided to close when 65,000 people were coming to the city to give us their money. And to put that into perspective for you, last year, 2 days during the music festival, black folks brought into the city of Cincinnati $110 million. 90 million went to the hotels, the other 10 went to gifts, food, and other stuff, right? We're not even talking about the 1.5 million that went into parking in 2 days. We're not even configuring the money outside of the city of Cincinnati, in Covington, Kentucky, Newport, other cities that are on the borders that you can easily get to. We're not even talking about those dollars. We're talking about the 110 million that was spent in 2 days, just 2 days. So when those 14 restaurants decided to close, we said, well, what is that all about? The same thing that they were accusing Liz Rogers of, these 14 downtown restaurants actually did. All of them got our tax dollar to do some facade fixing or furniture fixtures and equipment. They all did. But they decided to close when particularly African Americans were coming to the city of Cincinnati. Now, if they couldn't figure out how to get some of that money, that wasn't our fault. But you're not going to actively and publicly say that you're going to close. So that's how the Black United Front formed. And then in the year of 2000, we have what we call the 2 and 24. Roger Owensby and Jeffrey Irons. Now, why were these two guys so important to us? Jeffrey Irons was a black man who suffered from mental health issues, which is a huge component of the collaborative agreement. Why was Roger Owensby Jr. so important? Why was that murder so important? He was a veteran. He had done 2 tours of duty. He was a parent taking care of his daughter, home for 6 months to see his daughter, and he was murdered at the hands of Cincinnati police for no reason. What happened is what always had happened to us. We had always been told that murders were justified and that just be quiet and listen to the police, they know what they're doing. Well, the black community was boiling. It was boiling way before that, because in order to close out a case when you felt like you had been abused at the hands of the people that you pay for your public safety, we were being told to be quiet, sit down. And if it had reached to the level of death and murder, there was no admission of guilt, there was no investigation done, and the families weren't given anything in compensation for their trauma and pain and suffering. So the black community said, we're not taking that anymore. And they came to the Black United Front and said, can you do something about it? You guys are loud enough, you are bodacious enough, and you seem self-determined enough to make some changes. I'm not going to say that this fight has been easy, because it has not been. This has been one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And the reason why is because I was born into a family of activists. Anybody ever heard of this black lady by the name of Vivian Kinneberg? That's my grandma. So I was born on the front line, literally. Literally. I can remember being on the front line, very young age, saying the same thing that my son said when we embarked on this, and he was 7. And he would tell my mother-in-law, I'm tired of picking at places. I'm tired of being the kid that's got to pick at. I want to go to baseball practice. Right? And he was 7 years old. But he was informed enough to have discussions at school, believe it or not. He was at Kilgore at the time. Mary Ronan was the principal. And there was discussion amongst young black children because now we're seeing police abuse happen in their faces. And that's a terrible thing because I grew up in Cincinnati public schools, and guess who we loved? And even though I grew up in a trying time, guess who we loved and respect? Police and fire. So when they would show up, you're like, hey, Mr. Police Officer. Now we see children running from them. That's a problem. Then we had the untimely murder of Timothy Thomas. Now, I'm not going to stand here and tell you all of what happened because we all know. There was so much to the story, so many lies, so much deception, so much cover-up. It was just mind-boggling. When you saw the body-worn camera, it's one of the things, and I don't think it's embedded into this presentation. Cincinnati, I won't say the full name because we're at Christ Cathedral, but I hope that you all have had a chance to see that documentary that was done on Cincinnati. It is extremely insightful. It's hard to look at, but it actually shows you where we were in those times. And it shows you how if we really looked at the problem, because the problem is how we see the problem, we can begin to fix the problem. We didn't know that we were becoming problem solvers. We just thought we were still going to fight, right? And I remember in our meetings that Reverend Lynch would ask us all the time, because we would say, he would ask us, what do you want? And we would say, we wanted justice. What does that mean, Kira? What does that look like? How do you know what justice is? Well, we were meeting for a long time, and these two white guys, they would come to our meetings, and they would have these 3 white binders, and they would walk in and say, we want to help you on. We say, no, you can't help us. We need black attorneys because we need for someone to see this finally through the lens of black people. And they would come every Tuesday at 6:30 and say, let us help you. And they would have these 3 white binders. And we would say, no, when did we tell you we need black attorneys? Well, one of those guys is actually, I call him my white husband. That's Al Gerhardt's name. My husband he's cool with it. Al's wife is cool with it. We're all cool with it. Because Al has exemplified what it is to be a community attorney. And when Al walked in with those 3 white big binders, and that was the foundation of the case. It was a 30-year study of the black community and policing. It gave us the blueprint of how we could easily dive into what the issues were. That's who Al Gerhardt's name is, you know? He's not a black man having to worry about police. He's a white guy who could go on about his business and not pay attention and be a successful attorney. You all know his cases have made it to the United States Supreme Court. But that dude is a guy who loves justice and who loves the law that much that he will fight for the application and the process of equity and fairness for everyone. So when we finally said, okay, white guy, and that's what we said, come on in and sit down, show us what you got. When he and Scott Greenwood laid it out, there was no denying that. There was no denying. And I always say that Al has been we've been joined at the hips ever since then, and we're not going anywhere, right? Because he is what I call one who sees things differently. He is one who will tell attorneys, don't sue the city, let's walk it through the process. He is the one that says, Iris, when I want to blow it all up and drop the atomic bomb and say, F it, they're not doing it right, the FOP is talking crazy, let's follow the process. We developed this process and let's follow the process. So we said okay to the white guy, and we quickly realized that he knew what he was talking about. He knew exactly what he was talking about. And he knew how to help all of the parties, not just the plaintiffs, not just the class, but all parties understand that we needed to do some work and the time is now. I don't know if you all remember 2001, April 2001. Anybody remember that?
Yeah.
Remember how beautiful it was? It was like 80 degrees. It was like heaven opened up and said, do something, right? It was like, it was the time then. I don't think we've had an April like that since then. It was like time for people to come out and engage and be part of the process. And be taxpayers and citizens and help government figure it out, because sometimes they're just not that smart. You all know this spot. It's not like that anymore if you go down on 12th Street. It's all painted. I think y'all did another story on that, Nick with City Beat. It's all painted over, but I think at the top, you will still see the IRP is kind of faded, but this is where Timothy Thomas was murdered in this particular alley. And we do pray that he is at peace, he and his family. These are some of the 15 that were murdered at the hands of the police. Before we filed our lawsuit, I see Timothy's in there and Roger. But this is about life and death. It's not just about policy and procedure. It's not just about the FOP and the black community. This is about life and death and trauma and figuring out how to reduce incarceration, mass incarceration, and how to have policies where you can hold bad city employees accountable. Right, Eve? Because we want to hold them accountable. You all know that scene, that photo went across the country, went across the world. This is downtown Cincinnati, and this is what it looked like. This was the day that the curfew was enacted. And I remember being down, you might have been down with us downtown, we remember going down to Washington Park, and the police just opening up and firing at people. And I looked at everyone else and I said, what the hell do we do? What do we do? And so we get everybody back to the church. We try to get everybody back to the church. We were trying to talk with the police and saying, hey, this is just not necessary. You know, this is not how you control a crowd. People are hurting and they're in pain. But this is what ensued, just open firing on people. So people were running for their lives. What the black community, as I said earlier, was that those two, when we had the 2 and 24 killings, we didn't get much more information than that. We knew that the conditions were boiling, and we really were trying to stop it. Our goal was to put something in place in front of the community so we wouldn't see a civil unrest ensue, so we wouldn't see more lives being at stake. We don't want children to go to jail. But the community gave us the blessing to do something. So what did we do? We set out in the year 2001, January, the coldest month of the year. If y'all know anything about Iris Roley, I do not like snow, cold, sweet, wind. I don't like cold rain. So I had to devise a plan to get to as many people in the city of Cincinnati, because the state has a statute. In order to file this class action, we needed to go back only 2 years and be able to really get a good glean as to what was happening in the city of Cincinnati. We were making these